welcome back to the Girl Herd segment. Again, I'm Angie. We also have Devin and Michelle on. And also, if you haven't heard, there is a promo going on right now that you get 4 months for $1 with Inside Texas. So make sure to check that out after you're done listening to us today. So we're going to start it off by talking a little bit of spring football. So ladies, what's your thoughts?
So many thoughts. I mean, right before we started the show, there was some breaking news, and I was really excited. So we picked up a wide receiver from Stanford. So it's super exciting because, well, I'll say it's super exciting for me because I did wake up today thinking about the team, and I was going to ask y'all how y'all were feeling at this point versus 2024 at this point, because I started replaying our conversations around this time. And I admittedly started panicking for a little bit because I know that we do need to fill in some holes. And the portal, especially the fall one, wasn't really what it was with us because we were trying to finish our season, number one. But now we've got till the 25th to sort of fill it all in. And yeah, so I'll pause there. What are the thoughts that we are picking up a wide receiver?
I mean, this was one of the most hyped wide receivers, and it's kind of cool that he was able to jump in now because of what's going on at Stanford. So we were able to grab him up. And I mean, again, we've talked about what we think some of our gaps are, and this was a huge one for us. So, hey, look, we need all of the weapons that Arch can use. So one more, exciting.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, the sooner he can get in and start developing that connection with the team and with Arch, the better. We have, 5 practices that are left in this segment of off season. So I'm excited to see what he does. And from what we've heard and what we've seen, all the things we see about Arch, it's going to be hopefully an easy transition, and he's going to be welcomed into that wide receivers room with open arms and just ready to produce. Because I think that's the mentality of everybody at this point is like, we're here to grind, we're here to work and show up.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm really excited about with this pickup is his overall frame, actually, because we were working with Bond and Golden last year, who they are slightly smaller. And so the wide receiver coming in, he's matching a little bit more of Wingo's size and length. And I think it's crazy how we're like, oh, this was a lighter area for us. But I think we've grown accustomed the last couple of years. This position has been so strong. I have no doubts, by the way, in DeAndre Moore and Ryan Wingo. I think they're going to come out strong for fall. But I do think with the longer season, with the playoff now, we just have to stack the deck at every position. And so I'm feeling less panicked and a lot more comfortable than I was this morning before the news came out.
Yeah, we have some really exciting freshmen coming in too that we haven't even seen. But it's nice to have some, people that have played a little bit, aren't starting out and that we know of. But you're right, Devin. We're like, why are we all nervous? But we just lost some really great ones, which I'm excited for them, excited to see what's happening with them and their future and draft and whatnot. But we always love and we talk about how we want our offense to be deep, and those weapons, we'll take them all. Never know what can happen in this long of a season that happens these days.
Yeah, I'm also really interested to see our short game, right? Because that was a point of contention for us, this past season of get to the first down marker. What is going on? We have so much talent, and for whatever reason, especially in the red zone, it got tricky, right? So utilize those weapons. Let's see how our offense pushes and can continue to develop in those short yardage gains that we're really going to need against these big SEC powerhouse teams too.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's the other top thing that I really like about this new wide receiver, averaging over 10 yards per reception, I believe, after he's catching it. So, or overall, actually. So, but still, I think the point is we need that. We need to be able to get to that first down marker, and it sounds like he's bringing that to the table. So, yeah, those were some of the highlights about him. I'm sure we'll hear way more since this news was just coming out. I wanted to switch it to defense for a little bit, because I know that you probably saw this, Angie, since you're a big fan of the pivot, but I was just geeking out over Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons and their interview. And I think there's so much there that we could touch on.
Yes, I was dying laughing at them and just their demeanor, kicking it with some of the old heads on the pivot and just talking about the culture at Texas and what we stand for and how, they're like, this is what we do, right? Like, this is nothing new to us. We show up, we grind, and here we are. But also, we talked about too, like, Colin is now dropped one of the ones, right? And is now just rocking the number one, which I love and I'm here for. I'm glad that I waited to get his jersey, so now I can get it this year and stay with the correct numbers. But yeah, I loved seeing them on the pivot, and that the pivot is now bringing on more college kids just to get their experience and see what they have to say.
There was also something that was saying that like Arch likes to poke at them, and I'm like, poking at Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill is like, what are you asking for here? But hey, I mean, if it's going to drive each of them in practice, we'll only drive them when they're in real games as well. So
yeah, I think like the interview was just cool overall, but the biggest piece of it for me was the question about what's going to make the difference. And I know we talked about it last week. We are getting to that Final Four piece of the season, and the last 2 years have not been able to eclipse it yet. So I thought that was a good question that they were asking them. And their answer was really interesting to me because they pointed out leadership. And this is a super young team. Very exciting. I think their legs will be fresh, but I mean, from a leadership standpoint on defense, I think it is those two. But I'm so curious y'all's thoughts around the offensive side of the ball and like what are the downsides and upsides of us being young and what that means for the leadership on that side of the ball.
Well, I think it's also interesting, not to go back to defense, but we also have new coaches that are coming in too. So new all around, which super exciting, are the guy that they brought in from Rutgers that's replacing Blake. I'm super excited to see what he does. And I think Sark is also being super strategic with this and these coaches he's bringing in and vastly changing like how we're potentially going to recruit, right? More on the East Coast and all these other places that we're now going to have access to with these coaches coming in. But on the offensive side of the ball, I think that the young guys bring this energy, right? They're so excited to make a name for themselves, to wear Texas on their chest and like, look what I can do. I know all these people that I followed in the footsteps before me, but we're about to make a name for ourselves too. And this is a whole new era with Arch. And how are we going to stand out, right? Like, what are we going to do on this field? And I think that's what I'm most excited to see. And then plugging in those little pieces of our veterans and how they're going to continue to lead them on the field, both off and off the field.
Yeah, we've heard so much. Like, I was kind of going to go down that line as well, like relationship wise, even though like this is Arch's first season starting from the jump, he's been there for 2 years, right? So he's already gained some relationships, and he just also has this, his persona, his character, whatever you want to call it. He is a natural born leader, and he just has something that people want to drive to. And I just think that's going to help bringing out all of these people, whatever position they may play. And we've all talked about his swagger and what's coming to this season, but there's been a lot of talk about his leadership already on this team and how people want to play, like not just with him, but for him. And I think, we've seen that just in the bits that he's played in last season prior. And so I think we're going to see that. And it doesn't make me as concerned, like Devin, you were like, I was a little bit panicky. Like, I don't know. I feel good, like after coming off of last season and who we have and just this culture that we've built and where our team sits now. And even with the gaps that we have, I just constantly have this optimism that we're going to fill them regardless. And we have these people that are excited about coming to Austin, but also, playing with this team and this coaching staff. And good on them for creating this culture that people want to come play for.
Yeah, high level, I feel fine. Specifically, we don't know. Running back, big question mark in terms of when we start going through our season. Tight end, even bigger question mark. So there's just spaces and places where I feel like a year ago, we were really locked in and we were like, y'all, we about to run the SEC, and kind of like basically did. We won't talk about Georgia. They're like, Bruno, we don't talk about that. But anywho, yeah, everything y'all are saying about Arch, I wanted to key in on that because I think sometimes if there are too many upperclassmen voices, quarterback or not, they kind of like create this environment where you're like, well, I'm going to step back. And he's already done that by sitting behind Quinn. So he's stepping up. And Michelle, to your point, fully ready, full confidence in Arch, by the way, in that position. That's not an area where it's like, oh, we're worried or anything. But I do like that it's a young team on the offense because Arch will be able to be that large voice versus having to like wait on a super senior offensive line. I mean, we're replacing most of them as well. So I think the dynamic is going to be really good. I'm super excited to see the rest of the portal window play out and kind of how we round out there.
I'm also really excited to see like the athleticism of Arch, right? And what Coach Flood is going to do with our offensive line and plugging in some really big guys there and getting them set. Like, how are they going to move and maneuver with Arch? I feel like is going to be off handle a little bit, right? Depending on what he sees and how he's going to read it. So like, how are they going to respond and make sure we get in the best position that we can, whether he's going to run the ball or throw it, whatever he's going to do? They're going to have to be prepared and on their toes, literally.
Isn't that amazing though? I feel like when was the last time we had that where you're like kind of like grabbing by the collar, like, don't do that again, son. But it's like, we want that. Like we want you to try different stuff. We want you to surprise the coach a little bit with your razzle dazzle. So I think you're exactly right, Angie. It's going to be young and fun. And there's going to be some times where Sark is like, all right, now calm down.
This video is brought to you by Luxe Kitchen and Bath. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook, and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring to life that dream vision of your special home. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team provides full remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today. Or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get a free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's LUXE. Or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Link in the description.
We are back, ladies. I know we kind of just finished talking about Arch and how we're excited about the offense. What are you guys thinking about the past recruiting weekend that we have and some other spaces that we're looking forward to filling?
All right, Devin, did you hear about, do you have any more details about this North Shore guy that showed up this weekend?
I know that was going to come up. I definitely was super excited about Chase Calicut because I mean, it just goes back to everything we've been saying. I mean, this will be the first North Shore guy, I think, since Shockey, and Dwayne Akina's there. And I believe it was on a different Inside Texas show. They were talking about how he was like straight up showing videos of Earl Thomas. And I was like, this is what we need, the Renaissance from the 2005, 2010 years. But yes, definitely excited. And he said he loved his visit. He can't wait for his official visit. His mom was like all up and down the timeline, like retweeting and posting. And so I think it's very exciting. And I can't wait to be at his games this fall too.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this over and over again on our pod and tapping back into North Shore, got to see Shockey at the end of the year. And we were like, what's up, man? Come bring back your guys. Like, let's go. Let's have them on our team. You know, they keep running it back and doing so well while they're in high school. We want those guys to come to Texas. And I just love that we've created this culture now that they want to come check out Texas. So hearing that he came and he showed up this weekend, I was super pumped to hear that. You always want to hear about, I mean, yes, we're happy that we can recruit from everywhere, but love that we're hitting Texas teams as well.
Yeah, I was also watching, I don't know if you guys have seen a little plug for some of the other Inside Texas stuff of their reactions from the recruits. It is so cute to see them talk. And I honestly get so impressed by them being so young and just ready to answer whatever question is thrown at them by all of these people, right? They're here on a recruiting visit, just came off of a full day watching practice and meeting everybody and talking. They're like, yeah, here I am. Here's what I loved. Here's what I liked. Like coming on campus, I'm coming back. But I am really impressed by Dia Bell. and how involved that he's been, and that he wants to be engaged with all the other recruits, and he wants to do those monopoly pieces of like, who do I want to come in with me for my class, and how are we going to build this team? I think is such a smart strategy, and it's going to be interesting to see how it continues to play out, right? If these guys are already forming that connection and that bond, what's it going to be like once they get onto the 40 acres?
Well, I love that's what we're coming at it with, right? Like if we're not trying to recruit them or going to the portal and we're, like while we may have some gaps here and there, if we're not going after them, it's likely because we've realized they don't fit in with our team and our culture. And we want that. We want to be able to make sure that we're not just like trying to get all of these 5-star recruits. How many times in the past have we said we should be good? We have all of these guys. They're all great players, like there has to be this team aspect to them, and they have to buy into what we have at Texas. And it's great to be in that place as well.
Yeah, I think that's sort of why things have been so measured with the portal window too. It's fitting it into what's going on, and just watching it all, the level of respect I have for like what it takes to run a college program. I mean, this weekend alone, it was recruiting weekend. It was the coaches clinic. And then you have spring going on. And then you also have to watch the portal. And it's like, obviously they've got large staff to take care of this stuff too and assist them. But I mean, it is a careful needle that you have to thread to get things right. And also one more thing on Chase, because I just thought it was so cute. Coach Ed Orgeron, who was obviously most recently associated with LSU, he was at the coaches clinic. And first of all, how cool it is to pair the recruiting weekend with the coaches clinic. And there's NFL coaches there. There's college coaches there from, their past careers and all of that. And so I think, Michelle, everything that you're mentioning about the culture, that's what we provide at Texas, and they get to see that. And it's so cool. But Chase had a picture with him when he was little, and then took one this weekend with him. And I was like, oh, that's just so cute.
I know we love seeing guys that grow up in Texas and coming full circle to come to UT and, kind of fulfill that dream, right? Like, and start over, because some of these kids have seen it through the bad, right? All of our tough years. And now here we are. Texas is coming as strong as ever. And it's exciting to see that they're still so pumped about it.
The funny thing was, I think the picture was when Coach O was at LSU, though. So he's not going to LSU, but,
he's not.
I was just going to say, and shout out to Sark, because all of this, plus also having a newborn, like, dang, talk about juggling it all. They were talking about how, like, now all college teams are becoming basically NFL, and how much support we have to have, and looking like we're having GMs and like recruiting and all these things. Of course, can't imagine having to put all these things at play. You have, of course, the portal opening up this week for 10 days, having to have all those puzzle pieces together. And then we're going to go into the draft, and you still have those people you're catching an eye on, and people are still asking you questions about them. Like, it's a lot of things to juggle, and it's really cool to see where we're at with that.
Yeah, which I'm so excited that Matthew Golden got invited. I can't even remember if I said this on the show last week, but he deserves it. I think that he'll be first off the board for us from a wide receiver standpoint. So I can't wait for the draft. Speaking of portal stuff, though, I think we should definitely discuss, especially now that his story seems to be getting tied with a nice bow. I think it's okay for us to go ahead and bring up Nico and Tennessee, because all of this craziness was dropping over the weekend with him like holding out, having negotiations, and people were like, what negotiations? This is crazy. And then it was like, oh, he's not showing up to practice. And then you open things up and it's like, oh yeah, like he's gone.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same. I'm like, and people this weekend kept comparing it to NFL. So like the segue of it just was wild to me. The play-by-play, right, and how things were handled. I do think with it being college, right, this is a whole new world with NIL and the portal, and the landscape is something that you have to be able to navigate. But this was kind of an example of how not to do it, in my end. Especially when like you don't want to burn those bridges, right? With the team that you're the quarterback and all of a sudden you're not showing up for a practice and the staff and the coaches are surprised that you're not there. Maybe have a conversation first. And yes, we hope the best for him. He's a great talent and they are young, right? These are young kids, so they're not going to get it perfect every time, but use it as a lesson learned and see where we go from there.
Well, this goes back to like so much that we've talked about, right? I mean, we're all figuring out this landscape, but like also these are kids, like these are college students or coming out of high school, however, you know, many years, and having to make these decisions and what's best for them. And I mean, that's very interesting to navigate. But yeah, how it all came out was terrible and sounded so bad. And then you're on the edge where you're like, but also he's a really good player. So you want him to land somewhere well, but there is a way to go about things. And that's why, you know, all these things that we talk about, like you just want somebody helping these guys of how to navigate all this. I mean, we're figuring it out, much less them, you know.
I do think it's interesting how quickly the conversation landscape has gone to, we want them to get paid. Because like it took so long for us to even get there. And just watching the situation, one, I want to credit the Tennessee coach for how he handled his press conference, and different coaches would have handled it with different color and the way that they spoke about Nico. He said, look, very unfortunate, wish the kid the best. And I just thought that was really professional, considering he was out there, Nico was out there on this like limb of just horrible optics of kind of just pulling a rug under your team at the very last hour, and you are a quarterback. Like that doesn't look good. And my mind just started going to, oh gosh, this is going to be the story that like comes back to him. But thankfully in this day and age, like cancel culture has kind of gone away. Stories run for a day and you're fine. And now it looks like he's landing with UNC and Bill Belichick. And I just think UNC, like their football program, between Mac Brown being over there and now Bill Belichick and this whole situation, they're going to be like must-see TV once again.
Wish the best for him for sure. And some other news I know we were all very excited about was a lot of our volleyball girls being on LOVB, the new pro volleyball team that is here, and they won the championship for the first time. And we're also excited to see Maddie Skinner and some of the girls be back playing together and reliving some of our favorite moments from watching them play in Burnt Orange.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's everything because I love volleyball. It's actually, I think, from a girls' sports standpoint, the top in terms of me like playing. Like volleyball is my favorite to play, but it's college sports. You only get them for so many years, and these stories only endure for so long. But now this feels like a cheat code into a world that volleyball really didn't have. I know the WNBA has been around for a long time, but pro volleyball here in the United States, it's still becoming a thing. And so such an exciting inaugural season for that league. Definitely check them out if you're a volleyball person, because they will be coming back around. And really cool that Austin took home the first championship for it, which no surprise. Look at the roster.
Yeah, look at the roster. Exactly. Yeah. Houston has a team as well. We're excited to see them in the coming years too. I really like the landscape. We know a few people that are in it and how they're growing it. And I dittoed what everything, you just said, Devin, like seeing that come to fruition and having a professional volleyball team and is really cool. But yeah, who's surprised that the Austin team won?
I know. I was like, how smart of that league to put a team in Austin, creating that pipeline. Rich, right? They did it with Oklahoma too. Do they have a Nebraska team? I'm like, they were very strategic in where they're putting these teams and creating a pipeline from some of these top volleyball schools, which so smart. So smart. And I know, Devin, you mentioned WNBA, and we have the draft coming up later. What are you guys' thoughts on that? What Longhorn ladies are we going to see? Who are you excited to see come out?
Man, I don't know if we have any girls in the top in terms of who is invited. No Texas players were invited to New York, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. Everybody knows Paige is, since high school, this girl has been the front of women's basketball. So very excited for that. I was checking out all the looks, and so pumped for that. But on Paige, being the projected number one pick, she got a contract with Unrivaled, which just like the LOVB volleyball stuff, Unrivaled is a new 3-on-3 league. And her contract with them is more than what will be her 4-year contract for the WNBA, her 1-year contract with them. But I mean, shout out to women's sports. I think there's so many more opportunities that are out there. And same thing like volleyball. I sat there through that NCAA tournament and was getting so sad as the weekends were coming to an end because it was just so good and these people are playing at the highest level at that point in time. And so the WNBA is just a place for you to keep watching your favorite folks. And for Paige, it'll be cool for us Texans because she's going to be going to Dallas Wings. They have the number 1 pick. So
much credit to all these like brands that are really endorsing our female athletes and kind of bridging that gap of what their salary is for the professional leagues and kind of making it a little bit more even, because we talked about this previously too. The decision of buying power in the house, right, is the ladies. And we want to see the people that we support up there getting paid as well. But I did also want to shout out our baseball team. Did you guys see that we are now number 1?
Yeah.
Love to see it and how they pulled that out over the weekend. But did you guys want to finish it out with any other thoughts? No? Amazing. Well, we look forward to seeing you guys next week.